You got the promotion, you built the relationship, you finally achieved what you said you wanted, and somehow it still didn't feel like enough. Not enough to rest, not enough to be proud, not enough to stop proving yourself to people who may not even be watching anymore. If that feeling follows you no matter how much you accomplish, this video was made for you. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that nobody talks about. It is not the exhaustion of doing too much. It is the exhaustion of never being able to convince yourself that what you have done is enough, that who you are is enough, that you, just as you are, right now, today, are sufficient. This feeling has a name. Psychologists call it chronic self-insufficiency, and it is one of the most quietly devastating patterns a person can carry, because from the outside, it is completely invisible. The people who feel it most deeply are often the ones who appear to have everything together. They achieve, they perform, they impress, and then they go home and feel like frauds. Today we are going to go inside that psychology, where it comes from, why it never seems to go away no matter what you accomplish, and what it would actually take to begin to feel like enough. Not someday, not after the next achievement, but now. Let's start with a moment that might feel familiar. Alex just received the best performance review of his career. His manager praised him in front of the entire team. His colleagues congratulated him. On the way home, Alex felt something for about 11 minutes, something that might have been pride, and then it was gone. By the time he walked through his front door, his mind had already moved on, already cataloging what he hadn't done yet, already measuring the gap between where he was and where he thought he should be, already building the case that the praise was exaggerated, that he got lucky, that if they really knew him, they would see through it. This is not modesty. This is not humility. This is a psychological pattern so deeply embedded that it operates automatically, below the level of conscious thought. Alex is not choosing to feel this way. He has simply never learned how to feel any other way. To understand why this happens, we have to go back further than Alex's career. We have to go back to the very first place he learned what it meant to be enough. For most people, that place is childhood, and specifically, it is the quality of the conditional love they received there. Conditional love is love that comes with requirements. It is love that arrives when you perform well and withdraws, subtly, sometimes without words, when you do not. It is the parent who lights up when you bring home the good result and goes quiet when you bring home the average one. It is the household where achievement was celebrated and struggle was met with disappointment. It is the environment where you learned, slowly and without anyone ever saying it directly, that your value was not inherent. It was earned. And here is the devastating logic that a child draws from this environment. If love comes when I perform, then I must keep performing to keep the love. And if I stop, if I rest, if I fail, if I am simply ordinary for a moment, the love might disappear. That belief, formed at 7 or 9 or 12 years old, does not automatically dissolve when the child grows up. It goes underground. It becomes the voice in the back of the mind that says, not yet, not enough, keep going, do more, be more. This is the voice Alex has been living with his entire adult life. He just never had a name for it. There is a term in psychology called the inner critic. Most people are familiar with it in a surface sense. But what is less understood is how sophisticated and how specific the inner critic becomes in people who grew up in conditional love environments. It does not simply say, you are bad. It is far more strategic than that. It says things like, you got lucky this time. Other people work harder than you. You do not deserve to feel good about this yet. Wait until you have really earned it. The inner critic speaks in the future tense, always pointing to the next threshold, the next achievement, the next proof of worthiness. And the cruelest part of its design is this: the threshold moves. Every time Alex reaches it, it moves. Because the inner critic is not actually interested in evidence. It is not a rational evaluator waiting to be satisfied. It is a survival mechanism built on fear, and fear does not respond to accomplishment. It only responds to more fear. This is why Alex felt proud for 11 minutes and then nothing. The inner critic does not allow the feeling to land. It intercepts it. It reframes it. It moves the goalposts before the emotion can settle into anything resembling peace. Now, here is something that most people in this pattern never consider. The not enough feeling is not just an internal experience. It shapes everything around Alex. It shapes his relationships. When you fundamentally believe you are not enough, you cannot fully receive love, because every act of love from another person passes through that same filter. They love me now, but would they love me if they really knew me? Would they stay if I stopped performing? Would they still be here if I fell apart? This creates a particular dynamic in Alex's relationships. He tends to overgive, exhausting himself in an attempt to earn the love he cannot simply accept. Or he self-sabotages, unconsciously dismantling good things before the other person can discover his supposed inadequacy and leave first. Both patterns are the same belief wearing different clothes. I am not enough, and I need to manage that before it destroys everything. It also shapes Alex's relationship with achievement itself. When accomplishment cannot produce the feeling of enough, achievement becomes a drug rather than a destination. Alex chases it not because it brings genuine satisfaction, but because the absence of chasing feels unbearable. Stillness becomes threatening. Rest feels dangerous. Because in the silence, without the next goal to pursue, the voice gets louder. There is a concept called imposter syndrome that has entered common language. Most people know it as the feeling of not deserving your success. But what is less discussed is where imposter syndrome actually lives, in the gap between your external performance and your internal experience of yourself. The wider that gap, the more impressive your external life looks compared to how you feel inside, the more intense the imposter feeling becomes. And Alex has spent years building an impressive external structure on top of a fragile internal foundation. Every new achievement adds another floor to a building whose basement he has never looked at. This is why you can look at Alex from the outside, see everything he has built, everything he has achieved, and have absolutely no idea that inside he feels like he is one mistake away from being exposed. From the outside, it looks like false modesty. From inside, it is completely real. The foundation has not caught up with the building, and Alex knows it. He feels it every single day. So what actually changes this? Because here is what does not work. More achievement does not work. Alex cannot accomplish his way out of a belief about his own worth. The evidence will never be sufficient because the problem was never about evidence. The problem is the framework through which the evidence is processed. Approval from others does not work either. It feels good for 11 minutes, then the filter resets and the voice returns. What does work, and this is both simpler and harder than anything else, is learning to separate worth from performance. Not as a concept Alex agrees with intellectually, not as an affirmation he repeats in the mirror, but as a lived, practiced, daily experience of treating himself as someone whose value is not conditional on what he produces. This begins with one very specific and very uncomfortable practice: catching the moment when something good happens. When Alex receives praise, when he completes something well, when someone expresses genuine love for him. And instead of immediately deflecting or minimizing or moving to the next thing, pausing, staying in it, letting it be real for longer than 11 minutes. This feels unbearable at first, because receiving, truly receiving goodness without immediately earning or deflecting it requires believing you deserve it. And that belief has to be built slowly, in small moments, over time, not in one breakthrough, not in one therapy session, not in one video. But it starts with a single moment of not moving the goalposts, of Alex saying, "This is enough. I am enough, right now, as I am, without the next achievement, without the approval, without the proof, just enough." If you recognized yourself in Alex today, in the 11 minutes of pride that disappeared before it could become something real, I want to leave you with this. The voice that says not enough is not the truth about you. It is a very old protection. It was built to keep you striving, to keep you performing, to keep you safe in an environment where love felt conditional. It did its job. It kept you moving. But you are not a child in that environment anymore, and you are allowed, slowly, imperfectly, one moment at a time, to begin to believe something different. You do not have to earn the right to exist. You never did. You were always enough. You just were never shown how to feel it. If this video describes something you have carried for a long time, but never had words for, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to go deeper into the psychology of self-worth, childhood conditioning, and how to slowly rebuild the foundation, rather than just the building, subscribe, because that is exactly what we do here.